Yeah, so thank you very much for having me today. I'm really excited to be here, and I've already learned a lot about your project. So yeah, Chambers for Green Tech, we are part of the Export Initiative Environmental Protection by the German Federal Ministry for Environment. And our mission is to internationalize German green tech. But our aim is not to just export and just sell German products abroad, but also to build local framework conditions that really lead to change in those countries and that really lead to more environmental protection in the countries we're working with. We're working mainly with developing countries or emerging markets, so a lot of projects in Latin America, in some countries in Asia, and also in Africa. Currently we have a lot of projects. And we always work together with the German chambers abroad, which are the German Chambers of Commerce. And this is a network around the world of institutions that are established, and a lot of them have been there for more than 100 years, and they have a very strong local network. So what we do at Chambers for Green Tech is we coordinate the projects, but they are implemented at the chambers internationally. And this really allows us to build capacities in the countries, because we can reach the right actors and we have the right network. And so we can positively influence the framework conditions in basically three main fields of work, which are circular economy, water technologies, and green hydrogen in decentralized applications. So yeah, it's always a lot of information. So who are we working with? Where are we working? But I hope this gives a little bit of an overview. It's basically a lot of capacity building and exchange of know-how between actors from Germany and the countries we're working with.
Thank you. And Sebastian, you are leading the global portfolio and business development team in the water and wastewater department at Siemens. So you work closely with local sales teams across different regions. Could you share a bit about what your day-to-day responsibilities look like in this role?
Sure. First and foremost, thanks for having me. Yeah, in my daily job, me and my excellent team are working actually with the different salespeople in the regions, so from the Americas region, EMEA region, to the Asia-Pacific region, and as well with the different business units where we have our portfolio located in, to develop solutions that enable a more resilient, more efficient, and obviously also a more sustainable water and wastewater sector. And there we see some differences, obviously also across the different regions, and how these technologies, be it digitalization, be it electrification, or also automation, can be deployed to tackle these challenges in water and wastewater.
And you said you see differences. Could you tell about a specific experience you remember very well that stood out?
Yeah, I think that it really depends also a bit on where you are in the on the globe, and then the related challenges. So if you're looking more into the Middle East, Eastern area, you obviously face quite some challenges related to water scarcity and securing secure water supply. There's a lot about things like desalination or also leakage monitoring and detection, and really securing the secure supply with water and high quality drinking water. If you look at other regions, for example also in the UK, they are really doubling down now on the wastewater side, having tremendous challenges with incompliant discharges, especially during heavy rain events, which due to the climate change gets more and more an issue. You read basically from month to month about news related to heavy rain events, and how to mitigate such challenges. There we work on solutions to tackle that.
It's very interesting insights, I imagine. Thank you. And Ms. Binita, you began your career in India with a master's in environmental science. What inspired you in the first place to pursue research in the field of environmental science?
I wasn't expecting that, but very interesting, and I'm thinking about it now.
That's the goal.
Yes, I completed my master's and I worked for some time in sustainability in the beginning, back in India. It was very nascent stage, very, very nascent. And I have seen almost 15 to 17 years of this whole thing of sustainability and how the tables have turned now because of the regulatory changes. At the beginning, it was not as interesting or as active as it is today. After working for some time in the industry, I felt I want to do research and understand more of what I am actually doing. I gained a different perspective. When you are into research, the way you look at things is very different from the way you look at it when you are in the corporate world. But with that experience of understanding research, understanding sustainability, and again, I am into the corporate world, and now when I utilize that same experience, I'm so happy with what I do at the moment. So.
That's great. And to go back to your research, in 2010 you have been awarded the GreenTalents Award for this. So how was your experience doing the research at the United Nations University in Bonn during your research stay?
As I said, taking the PhD, when I started doing a PhD, it was not very supported. I already had a job, everything was functioning fine, and then you go into a PhD, which is no money making that time. It wasn't. But everything changed for me. It was my career completely changed. I got this opportunity to be at the GreenTalents Award, which further gave me an opportunity to conduct a research stay, and I was selected at the United Nations University based out of Bonn. I saw how the international culture of work is, how people collaborate, what is that people look at. So the way we do research in India is very different from the way research is done in Germany. And this perspective was very important for me. It helped me understand, if I want to go international, what is the way in which I need to think, how should I present myself, how should I write, how should my CV look, a very basic thing. How people here talk, how people here do not micromanage, and I have to do everything on my own. So these were many things which I learned at UNU in Bonn.
Thank you. So a lot of soft skills next to the actual academic part. Okay. And Sebastian, you already mentioned a few regions where Siemens is working on. What would you say are the technologies you're mostly working on? Are there any specific emerging technologies you think hold the most potential for addressing these challenges?
Yeah, so like looking at the Siemens portfolio, we are coming strongly from an electrification and an automation world. But I think especially digital technologies are a key enabler, and this is also what me and my team are really focusing on. How can we deploy different types of digital technologies to tackle the challenges in water and wastewater? For example, looking at digital twins and simulation software used to optimize processes for sewage treatment plants to accelerate the net zero transition in wastewater, or also to use, for example, Gen AI tools to do a future-proof design of desalination plants. And then obviously looking at water infrastructure, which is quite distributed, looking beyond the plants actually, their IoT technology and combined with AI is a real value driver. But digitalization and digital technologies are always only an enabler to tackle a specific challenge, be it related to efficiency or resilience, or then basically sustainability, be it resource efficiency or the energy transition.
Thank you. And Lea, do you work on the Chambers for Green Tech with similar technologies, or is it very different?
Yeah, so as I said, we work mostly on improving framework conditions, and yes, water is a big field for us, but maybe I will talk a little bit about circular economy as well, because I think it hasn't been mentioned so much and it's a big topic for us. So one thing we are looking at is when countries want to change the regulations and the laws on circular economy, and we see that this is a huge field also, and there's a lot of change happening. There's a lot more talk about circular economy in the different markets, and there are a lot of countries trying to introduce, for example, EPR laws. So we see that there's a big potential, but we also see that there's a lot of data missing there, and there's not enough information oftentimes to know like where actually does the opportunity lie for technologies, for example, because a lot of countries do not really know what their waste fractions are, what their waste streams are, what their waste amounts are, because they're not measuring it or they don't have reliable and new data. So I think there's also a very, very big opportunity, and that's why we're also focusing a lot on this topic, because so many countries are not managing their waste efficiently.
So to first have more transparency in where everything goes, and then
exactly for this field to really grow, we really need to have more data, and because you cannot make a decision on what to invest. Do you need, like, for example, an automated waste sorting plant, or do we have enough waste for that to go in? So this information and this data is really important.
So I believe it's a big task for the future as well. And Binita, you also working in this sector. Do you see any intersections with your current work at KPMG, what the others described?
Yes, very much. So I work into all of these. I help various companies to comply to the CSRD requirements, the Corporate Sustainability Directive by the EU Commission, and it covers all of these aspects. So you talk about circularity, and yes, companies are looking at it differently, or I would say we also try to direct them to look at things differently. So when we talk about circularity, we ask them questions like, how would you rate your product as compared to your peers when we talk about circularity? So look at aspects such as repairability, refurbishment, various aspects where you can extend the lifespan of your products. And companies need to focus. They need to start looking if they want to comply to it. Also talking about water, Sebastian was talking, I also work with companies to look at similar things about what is your consumption, what is your discharge, how you can reduce it. Water withdrawals, I appreciate my experience that comes from Asia. Here I realize people are not as aware about the production processes, as I see most of the production for companies in Germany comes from Asia. It can be India, Pakistan, Cambodia, China. And because I have seen the plants, I have seen them working, bringing this experience to them is being really helpful. Like, companies themselves don't know how things are produced for them back in Asia, and when I bring it to them, bring this knowledge to the table, clients are looking at it, thinking at it, and taking actions.
And you work with also very international clients in different projects?
Yes, I unfortunately do not speak a lot of Deutsch, and all my clients are English speaking, spread all across Europe, US, and Canada.
And would you say there are big differences in which markets it's already very advanced, this knowledge that we need transparency, and where it isn't?
Very interesting to see. So EU CSRD, the first time companies will be reporting next year, 2025, will be the first time they will come out with their reports. India has a similar thing. This will be their 4th year when the companies will come out with the report. Very same thing. And this experience has also been very helpful for me, because I did the same thing in terms of India back home, and experiencing the same questions. The client says, how will the report look like? I don't know, we all will see together, something like this. So there I saw companies are very interested in having policies in place and targets in place and actions in place. In Germany, it is difficult for me to convince a company to have a policy in place. But they say, which is also very right, I understand what they say, we are in Germany. We meet all the regulatory compliances. I don't need a policy to prove that if I am able to function without being fined, I'm doing everything that is required to be done. I don't need a written paper to prove that. But the standard asks that now, so we are directing them to at least have something. But these various perspectives are very helpful, very interesting for me to work on.
Okay, interesting, thank you. And we're already talking about challenges, so Sebastian, scaling up water projects internationally is, I guess, not a small task. What would you say are the main challenges Siemens faces when expanding water solutions?
Yeah, I would see it as an entire ecosystem for the water sector. For sure, their funding is a critical challenge for deploying especially digital solutions. I think the World Bank estimated 114 billion investment gap to reach the UN SDG 6, so the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal related to secure access to water and sanitation. The second one, from my perspective, also looking at digital technologies, is then basically also the adoption. The water sector faces some challenges of adopting new technologies, be it not 100% clear guidance and regulatory framework, or be it very usual aspects that we face in other industries as well, data silos and things like that. But third, and I think this is the most critical challenge, is also, and that's why I'm happy to be here, is having the digital talents. Especially the water and wastewater sector sees some shortage of digital talents to actually deploy such kind of solutions, especially if we look at the fragmented water and wastewater sector with a lot of small sized companies that just don't have the capabilities to deploy such solutions, and I think this is really something that we need to tackle here.
So I understand that we need more recruiting strategies for water, if any one of you is interested to switch the industry.
Can only underline it. So to all the talents, consider a career in water.
And Lea, what would you say are the biggest hurdles that green tech companies face when trying to expand abroad?
So yeah, I would agree. There's this problem of also specialized or skilled workers available. So because we start with framework conditions, but in the end, of course, we want also German companies, or in general the companies, to be able to establish themselves in new markets. And we see a lot that there's not enough capacity building for skilled workers. So that's a big topic. And then when it comes to the regulations, which are important also to have predictability, to have stability, it's also a big topic that also in the public sector, the let's say the turnover rate in ministries or in technical staff in the authorities is really high in a lot of countries. So I think here, when we have a change of administration, normally the changes are limited to the political personnel, but in a lot of countries, the changes go really to the technical staff. A whole ministry will lose a lot of stuff and change a lot of stuff. So when you're building capacities, and then after 2 years you have a whole new administration, you lose a lot of skills. And I think that's a big challenge we're facing. So how to make this capacity building sustainable, so we can have on the long term the regulations that we need in place. And then I think also sometimes when people talk or think about sustainability or about green tech, they think about reducing emissions, about renewable energy. And I think there are a lot of aspects to it that are not so much talked about here and in the countries we're working in. So I think circular economy, yeah, people think about, oh, okay, I'm separating my waste, or this could be something I could do, but everything that comes behind the product, I think it's so invisible to so many people that it doesn't get the attention it needs. And I think if that's also a challenge sometimes, that there's not so much awareness as we think for the implications.
Yeah, I agree. Also visible with the current AI debate that we don't really, like, a lot of people don't know what is behind and all the servers, and it's all just digital online. And would you have any advice for companies that want to go abroad, what they should avoid, like common pitfalls, or how it could help?
So, of course, firstly, I would recommend to contact the Auslandshandelskammer and the DIHKs, which are the German chambers internationally, because they can support a lot when it comes to do's and don'ts in the market, culturally, but also economically, and also with the contact network, and which actors do I really have to address if I want to get into this market, especially if you're like a smaller company that might not be as established or not be as known. The backing from the chambers can help to give you trust, I think, that the local actors trust that you're a reliable partner and they're interested in working with you, but also to reach the right partner. So I think this would be one thing. And then I think oftentimes it's important to have a bit of more of a long-term strategy also, because there are a lot of markets that have huge potentials, but they're long-term. It's not going in and saying, oh, we have the solution, but really often it's also, there's a lot to learn from other countries as well. We are not necessarily the most advanced and the most knowledgeable in green tech generally or in digitalization. So to really meet on an eye-to-eye level and be open to adapt to the local context and to learn from local talent and involve the actors and the network that you need.
Thank you. This goes very well with next quote. I wanted to read from your biography on the Green Talents website. You write, Binita, that programs like Green Talents play a key role in bridging the North-South divide and facilitate a better understanding of each other's perspectives, challenges, and expertise. We already briefly spoke about how it impacted your career, but based on your experience with the whole award process, what would you say are the most valuable aspects of such initiatives?
So the Green Talents initiative is definitely, I'm sure it has been proven to be useful, because I myself know many colleagues who have had collaborative programs wherein they work together with academic institutions here. I also know colleagues who have collaborated in terms of industry and brought in products as well as technologies from outside in as well as inside out. So definitely it's a wonderful platform where you bring in so many different aspects of sustainability together. So the soft skills, the hard skills, the technical aspects. Plus, it's like a very interesting springboard wherein it is facilitated in a way where you make it easier for them to connect with various institutions, give an opportunity also in terms of funding, so wherein they are allowed to come here for 1 week. It has changed now, but for us, we were able to come to Germany for 1.5 weeks and meet universities and academic institutions, research institution, companies in person, and discuss with them in person, okay, yes, what you're doing is interesting to me, this is my research, how do you understand that I'm a good fit? And it's an exceptional opportunity. In my life, I would not be able to do this, I think, without the Green Talents program. I'm here, I understand the culture, I was able to bring my family here, and it's a win-win for both of us. So I think it's an excellent program to bridge this gap.
Thank you. And Lea, you said you're also going into the other countries and support with the help of the DIHK. Can you give us an example of a recent project you participated in? How did it look like?
Okay, yeah. So our projects, they are not like, we don't have a standardized project where we say, okay, it's always this. Every project is kind of tailor-made for the market that we're going in and with the partners that we're working with. But one example could be an online training that we did, an e-learning together with the DIHK in Bolivia and together with the Frankfurt School of Finance. that is an e-learning on green finance, sustainable finance. So how can countries in Latin America or in Bolivia specifically really finance green projects, and what are the mechanisms, what are the options, and what's different to not like the normal project financing. And this was very successful. We have expanded this to other countries of the region. It's been implemented by the DIHKs, also in Chile, in Colombia, I think most of South American market now, and we're also currently translating it to Portuguese. But we're also doing other things. So we have a lot of platforms where to exchange knowledge between German actors and local actors. We have had projects where we do job shadowing. So, for example, Kenyan and Tanzanian water specialists came to Germany and saw how their counterparts in Germany do their job here, and they could take away some learnings from that. But also workshops on EPR, for example. So a new EPR scheme, what does it mean for a company? What is EPR? What does the company have to do now to comply with its obligations? So,
thank you.
A couple of examples.
Thanks. And Sebastian, from your experience, what role would you say is digitalization playing internationally and in Germany, if you compare like the projects that you have?
Yeah, now looking again a bit to the water and wastewater sector, obviously, I think there are some differences between different regions. Naturally, some regions like Singapore, to name a specific country, or also the Middle East, are quite advanced in implementing also the regulation and implementing initiatives to accelerate the digitalization. But like if you look at Germany, I think it's not so much, especially also in the European Union, it's not so much a difference between the countries, even if, for example, it's not in the EU anymore, UK, but they are really doubling down there to drive innovation. But looking at the European continent, I think there are not too many differences between the countries. It's rather going to the difference between larger utilities, larger companies, if you look also at the industrial water sector, versus the smaller and medium-sized ones. And then obviously there's some measures like the PERTE in Spain or the equivalent in Italy that are really driving the deployment of digital technologies in the water and wastewater sector. I think there's no such a version in place for Germany, but if you look at the maturity of digital adoption, there are quite similar quite similar status across the different countries in at least the European continent.
Thank you. Lea, how is it for the circular economy? If you look from the international projects that you have with the Chambers for Green Tech, where does the digitalization is already playing a big role and where not that much?
So in our case, we basically look at countries where it doesn't play such a big role yet, because we're looking at markets that are a bit like, let's say, not yet the most attractive markets, but more where you're really missing the framework. So, of course, we see a lot of markets where it doesn't, like digitalization and circular economy doesn't play a big role yet. I think it's also because it's often countries where the cost of labor is quite low, so automizing or digitalizing certain processes is still not so interesting. Because you have cheap labor available. But of course we also see that there are huge differences, but as we heard today, I mean, even in Germany, there's a lot of potential to merge these two topics more, and then I think it was 1% of more resource efficiency in German companies due to digitalization, so I think it's actually a challenge in circular economy. It's a big challenge, and I think everywhere still.
And also, like Ms. Plechanik said yesterday in her keynote, when talking about AI, to not make the inequalities bigger, but to reduce the inequalities. Yeah. And Binita, what is your perspective from having done research in India and in Germany and working with so many international clients? What are your takeaways when it comes to digitalization status?
Of course, yes, it's important, it's growing, it's essential, especially with all these regulatory requirements coming up. We need data, a lot of data when it comes to E, S, and G. Data in a comparable format, that is also most important. This has been the biggest challenge I see in what I work with. So nowadays there are so many startups, everybody's popping up with a software which tells you, okay, you use my software and you will be able to print a CSRD report. So yes, digitalization is important. Having people who understand sustainability, AI or digitalization, and business strategies together is a super combo today. I mean, he's not minting money, I don't know, he's playing in money or something. So all of this is really important. AI useful, definitely useful, but needs to be done at a faster pace in a right way. I see regulations are coming, regulations and standards are just coming in. So it's CSRD and it is a supply chain regulation, it is a EPR and PCR and REACH and ROSHA. Regulations are coming in, but the digitalization or a tool to help us collate the right data in the right format, in the right time, at a right cost is missing, I see.
And what advice would you give to young professionals or researchers just starting out in the ESG sustainability space today?
That's the only space to go. You are in the right direction, I would say. Do the best. Whatever you do, do the best. Understand whatever you are studying, and everything is important. I didn't realize waste was so important. I didn't realize circularity was so important. Today, when I see all of these things, it makes so much sense that how you can get into becoming expert. Biodiversity is so important today. TCFD, TNFD, I don't know, so many FDs. I never thought biodiversity would be so important, but there are people who have expertise in those aspects. So you have sustainability. You can enhance or upgrade your skills when it comes to AI, digitalization, some aspects of project management, and you are going to do good. It's the best time. So yes, please go for it. And I'm always available for any guidance.
Thank you very much. Lea, in your view, would you say there's anything where the government could support to be more effective for the green tech companies to overcome these challenges we spoke about?
Yeah, so I think events like today are really helpful because I think there is a lot of support. There are a lot of actors who are trying to achieve this, and I think really often we are not as connected as we should be, because today I was thinking, as I was hearing about all these projects, I was like, okay, I think some of these things would be very interesting to other countries, but I didn't know about them yet. And then I think maybe some of you were thinking, oh, okay, maybe it would be interesting to go to another market, but I don't really know where to start, or like, so, and then it's really interesting for you to maybe have contact with us or with the chambers abroad. So I think like really working together and presenting ourselves also internationally as like one unit, with one common goal, and not like a lot of different actors who are doing different things under different names. I think this would be very helpful. And then I think it's really about bringing together also what we saw today and what was mentioned in the Q&A earlier. These like different expertise, get them to the table, develop new solutions, and then work together to also get them outside of Germany and to adapt them and to be open to really see the local context and adapting there. So I think it's really, there's a lot that's been done. We just have to be more efficient and like working together and merging it a bit more and get all the information together.
Very important point. Thank you. And Sebastian, we were talking earlier about making an elevator pitch for impact. So how would you convince people here to join the water industry in 1 minute?
Really hard one, no? Actually not. I think water and wastewater, or like the water crisis, I think is one of the biggest themes that not too many people are talking about yet. Yeah. And there's so much potential to work also on really cool stuff. I mentioned some digital technologies that make really an impact for all of us. Water is not only in our daily lives based on the municipal water sector, but also it's core to main green technologies. Thinking of hydrogen, thinking of batteries. Water is a key resource for that, and not even touching agriculture, food and beverages. So we are really affected by water every day, and there are big challenges that we need to tackle. And therefore, we need not only technology, but actually the right talent to be motivated, bold, and creative to tackle that. And I really believe that water is the next carbon. So this is upcoming here, and we need to make it work.
Thank you. And with this, I'd like to open the stage for your questions, also in the live stream. If there are any, please. Feel free. Okay, you can also wait a little bit. And in the meantime, talk about, I found it very interesting, Christiane Placenik was talking yesterday about the donut economy. Is this a concept that you're also working with in your projects, or do you use a different model for sustainability? If anyone wants to?
Exactly aware about what you're saying.
The circularity model with the environmental ceiling and the different aspects.
When you talk about sustainability, actually, you look at any standard and just name any standard. If you understand the basics, it's actually the same. It's just how different countries are implementing it in different ways. But it's working with the same thing. So it's working with water, it's working with circularity, it's working with products, it's working with pollution, energy, and now also social aspects and governance aspects. So when I work into, I am actually looking at all of these things for different sectors across different places, geographic locations, different kind of customers. Sometimes it's only B2B, sometimes it's B2C. So yes, these things.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any definitions for circular economy or water?
Well, so I'm not completely aware now of the donut model, so I need to learn about it. But when we are thinking about and discussing sustainability, there are basically two angles: how to become a bit, or not a bit, how to become more sustainable as a company, as Siemens, and we investing there quite a lot. But on the other side, where my focus obviously is, especially how do we enable other industries to become also more sustainable and accelerate the sustainability transformation. And when we think about sustainability for industries, we have basically three key pillars. The first is the energy efficiency and decarbonization pillar. And the second one is resource efficiency and circularity. And the third is then also people centricity and societal impact. And I think these provide some good clusters to act on and to make the sustainability transformation actually a real thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to add to the same thing, this is ethically, ideally what any standard wants. You do GRI, you do CSRD, you do BRSR, you do any standard. At the end, the standards want that these aspects of sustainability should be integrated into your value chain somehow. Somehow we should be able to pass the same thing. So not being able to say only I am environmental conscious or I am socially conscious, being able to pass this on to a value chain, being able to help them understand how they can also meet environmental goals and improve the social working conditions for their workers. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, so I also don't know the donut model, or I don't know actually what you're, because I couldn't be here yesterday, unfortunately.
Learning for us.
Yeah, I will Google the donut model. So yeah, regarding circular economy or circularity, we, yeah, in the past we were struggling a bit because I think the German definition of circular economy was much more limited than what other countries saw as circular economy. And I think it's really good that there's now for Germany and Europe a bit more of a, like a broader vision of circular economy that really is circular and not basically waste management. So we're trying to promote this idea of circular economy also. Yeah.
Thank you. We had a question in the front.
Thank you very much for your contributions. I found all three speakers super inspiring. I have one question, and I think it kind of like goes probably to all of you, but whoever feels most comfortable answering. And it's about behavioral change, because what we did or what we see is that there's a lot of amazing innovation out there. We always talk about we need new talent, more talent, but how do we treat or how do we work with those that are currently employed in different sectors, looking at the construction industry or when we talk about circularity models, also looking into the water sector, which in Germany, at least from my experience, seems to be quite conservative when it comes to deploying new solutions. So my question would be, how can we make sure that we get everyone on board? How can we make sure that we can show the impact that new technologies and innovation can have on those very conservative sectors?
Thank you.
I can.
So maybe internationally speaking, I think it's important to kind of meet people a bit where they are also, to really get to know the local context and understand the challenges that different industries and also consumers in general have. So it's not about, I don't know, going to another country and say, yeah, you need 4 bins in your house so you can sort your waste, when maybe houses are much smaller, or there's less space and time available for people to sort their waste. So I think it's about being practical and like implementing solutions that are really, maybe in the beginning just kind of low-hanging fruits, or that really are easy to implement, to just show that it can be done and it doesn't have to be extremely complex. And by this way to gain trust. Earlier I was speaking with one of the projects, I think it's called DIVA, yeah. And I was thinking like, how is this maybe something that could work internationally? How could this work in other countries? It sounds very complex. You have to measure a lot. You have to have a lot of data. And the person I was talking to said, yeah, but maybe this project also helps to see what data is really necessary to be measured in order to achieve our goals. So I was thinking, yeah, this is actually quite practical, because instead of saying, oh, you have to measure everything now, these insights I think are really valuable, to be like, okay, maybe you have to work on this, but maybe you only have to do this first, and this can be have already a big effect. And I think instead of going in with really high expectation of really complex solutions, where people just get scared and decide to not do anything in the end.
Yeah, I see 2 aspects of your question there, right? One, the deployment of digital solutions, and there's for sure a technical aspect to it. So we are working quite heavily to make the deployment very simple. For example, for leakage monitoring, pre-integrating the hardware with the software as an IoT solution to reduce the time, risk, and then obviously also the cost of deploying such solutions. But like technology is only one aspect, as you clearly mentioned. I think the digital transformation or utilizing then also digital technologies in the day-to-day work is more like also a human touch and empowering and enabling the people. And there, I come to the second part. There we have, on the one hand, the existing workforce, looking at the fast development of new technologies. We need to ensure that we continuously work on enabling, empowering the workforce to utilize these technologies, but at the same time then also attracting new talent. And there are different measures to do it. And I think we also see in utilities more and more things like hackathons, and which is like basically nothing new, but providing then also access to for example, in a pumping station and doing their real pilots and MVPs in the practice. I think these are things that motivate, especially also young talents, to work in this industry and work on novel topics. And I think it's always critical, and I think this is what you mentioned as well, is to link it into the operational processes, right? To prove the value, make it also easy to use, but this is like not the first step of an MVP, but you need to take the people with you on this journey to prove then also the value, and then if the operators see the value, then they're also happy to adapt to that in the future. And then I think there are some trends. There's like no way around it. Like looking at the workforce challenges, I mentioned it earlier already. I think in the US, a third of the operators in the water and wastewater sector are retiring within this decade. So there's no way around to enable the new workforce to be more efficient, utilizing new tools. And maybe sometimes these digital tools are not only for the efficiency purpose, but also to make the working environment a bit more favorable and more attractive for our generation.
Just adding the same thing, where you mentioned about conservativeness. So things have changed a lot. I have seen sustainability 15 years back, 16 years back, and I see it today. It's changed a lot. Some things which you had to convince the client, please, it's the other way around. The client says, please do this for me. So it has changed a lot. You need to empower yourself, enhance your skills, understand what is required, and it is being accepted. Many places, I am seeing young talents at various client places with limited sustainability knowledge, but good AI skills, digitalization, business understanding, project management. Putting everything together, it's working. Just find your right partner and be willing to accept as well.
Thank you. We have time for one more question, maybe from the live stream or the audience. Yeah.
Do you see any trends coming up, or anything you would say that's something German green technologies should more research, doing more research on, or should consider more for the future? Something that's coming up now. We talked so much about AI, but maybe something's new also there, or something which German companies are not so good in yet and should improve.
Thank you. It's to everyone.
Yeah, I think there are two angles again from for this question, right? The one is more like, what are the big challenges that we need to solve? And the second one is then basically, what are the enabling technologies to solve this problem? Coming now a bit from the challenges perspective, I think one really huge topic is what we call in the industry the energy-water nexus. There's also the energy-water-food nexus. I think there's a lot to do, because water is really interlinked with energy and then also with food. And I think there are some open questions that we can tackle. And then, yeah, on the technology side, I think the buzzwords are clear, but how to bring theory into practice, I think this is really the golden question here.
Yeah, I also think it's this, like, how to bring theory into practice. That's really the challenge, and I think something where there's room for improvement is maybe to offer solutions that are to find solutions together. So to really have like one more holistic approach, or more holistic approach. For German companies, for example, or companies in general, to join together and present themselves together, compact solutions, or like the solutions from A to Z, basically, instead of everyone going outside and trying to do something. So I think it's about really what's there already, to work to bring this together better and position oneself better internationally. So it's also, I think, a lot about marketing and sometimes also a little bit about soft skills, that there's maybe sometimes room for improvement.
Thank you. Would you like to add?
I was also thinking about this. I see there is a lot of scope of improvement when, or coming up with new technologies, when you have a lot of production. When we talk about German companies, a lot what you can do here is mainly on the energy aspects, energy and climate change related stuff. But suppose you want to do something in terms of improvements in reducing pollution, water consumption or water treatment. Very limited aspects, because a lot of stuff is coming from Asia. So ideally all these aspects are applicable for Asia, not for us. So, but maybe other things, collaborative efforts, like for example, Denmark is good with wind, China does good with solar stuff, and we are very good with regulations and compliance things. How is that we can combine this and come up with something useful? This is, I would think on this side rather than trying to run into all directions.
Thank you. I think our time is unfortunately running out. We spoke about a lot of things, about the different industries you're working in, the different regions, the importance of initiatives such as the Digital GreenTalents Award, and that we should all communicate and exchange more. I would like to thank you, Sebastian, Lea, and Binita, very much for your participation. And I would also like to thank you, dear listeners, both here and in front of the screen, for your interest. And please stay after lunch, because as Julia mentioned, we will announce the winners of this year's Digital GreenTalents Award, and see you there.
Thanks.